In today's class, we are going to see about contributions. So the very important thing about today's topic will speak about contributions. What do you mean by contribution? See, when it is called contributions, not contribution, it is a contributions. It's a very important thing. Okay. So when you want to know about the contribution actually is the main objective of your problem and solution. Okay, a problem and solution. Contribution talks about your problem and the solution. Actually, this contribution has to be linked. Okay, this contribution will be always linked with the abstract. Okay. See, when you have listened to my previous lecture about the types of abstract, in an abstract, okay, an abstract, there will be a sentence. Of course, it will be talking about introduction. When it is a descriptive abstract, it talks about the problem, it talks about the solution, and it talks about the results, and it talks about the discussion. This is how I made it in a simple, what I can say, abbreviations. Please try to understand. Now, when you talk about this, problem and the solution, and this is called, they call this as a main objective. Any contribution should have one main objective, and this main objective should be supported by this main objective should be supported by secondary objectives. Secondary objective. This is a very important thing. Many people will never try to address this. Your main objective should be there, and second objective should be there. So like this, you can have n number of secondary objectives. That is called secondary objective, third objective, fourth objective. Actually, these all objectives, how it should be dealt is that you should have your main objective, okay, and this will be reflected. This will be reflected in your abstract. Either it will be in a form of one sentence, or maybe in two sentences. It depends upon the topic which is being chosen for the research. Of course, minimum one, maximum of two. That will be the main objective. And this main objective will be supported by the secondary objectives. Okay, secondary, third, and all those things. These objectives you can able to see in the contributions. It's a very important thing to be understood. This contributions are being reflected. It means that these contributions are being written, or it is shown in the what I can say, last part of your introduction. Last part. It means that when I write any introduction, topic, I'll have basics. Then second para, this is what the para 1, this is what the para 2, maybe 2 para. And then my last para will be, it is called problem para. And this is your solution para. And this is your bridging para. It is called bridging. Okay, it is called bridging. Now here you can show the solution in a form of contributions. In turn, the contributions will be in a form of secondary objective, secondary, third, or fourth, or fifth objective. Now there will be a very big question arising in your mind. how many contributions should be there? Of course, you can make at least one main objective, and you can make 4 secondary objectives. So totally you want to make 5 objectives, five in that five contributions. It should be 5 contributions. And a very important thing when you talk about the 5 contributions is that five new contributions. Okay, it should not be linked with each other. That is very important. Entirely, it should be new. 5 contributions. Okay, in that 5 contributions, you can show this in the contribution part of your introduction in a form of 3 points. Okay, in a form of 3 points, 3 bulletin points, or you can make it as Roman letter 1, 2, 3. Okay, and your main will be reflected. Actually, it should be containing 5. Why I'm preferring 3 points, contribution points. These 3 contribution points are reflecting your novelty. That is very important. These 5 points should talk only about the novelty of your research. So whenever a reader reads a paper, he'll be much interested only in this area. Okay, and that he'll conclude by you reading the contribution. Please try to understand, they never look into your diagram. They never look into your, what I can say, block diagrams. They never look into your results, 99%, 100%. They never look into that. What researchers will be expecting is that, what is their requirement? Is that a problem? Okay. How do you solve this problem? How do you solve this problem? With some contributions. How these contributions are handled in a different way. How it has been handled. Handling is a very important, handling is a very important part. What do you mean handling here? It's a very important. Say, I'll give one small example. Okay, I'll give one small example. I'll just give a common platform where everybody knows about the area. I'm just not because the people will be from different platforms, but still I'm going to give it in a very small common area, which is it means that the field where the main objective is being discussed and how your secondary objectives are discussed. Of course, after completing this, what I can say, explanation, and after completing this linking between the main objective and the secondary objectives, then we'll go to some sample papers. We can see only the contributions, how they are interlinked. That is very important. Normally, what you write in abstract will not be linked everywhere. That is very important. Now, we'll go for one topic. So now I'll go for WSN. Okay. Wireless sensor network. Everybody knows about the wireless sensor network, no doubt. Even a common man knows about WSN. Okay. Now, in WSN, I'm going to look into the second major part, is that WSN in underwater. In underwater. Okay, WSN in underwater. That is a very important thing you have to understand. Now, in underwater, what are the things are there? Routing is there. What is the problem in the routing? What is the problem in the routing? Normally, when you talk about the routing, what are the problems in the routing? Is that, okay, what is the problem in the routing? Is that temperature, salinity, water salinity, because that will bring the latency in the data packet delivering. Salinity, okay, and then you can talk about what I can say, currents, wave currents, etc. Of course, here my objective is routing. Routing in underwater. Routing in underwater is my main objective. Now, my objective is creating a good underwater routing algorithm, keeping this as a problem. Okay, I can understand. I can understand the current, temperature, okay, and salinity. Now, this is a normal main objective. Whereas my secondary contribution is that the temperature variations, if at all I'm going to route with an algorithm, okay. If at all my temperature varies from minus degree to plus degree, of course you don't have plus degree, only in minus. For example, minus 3 degree to minus 10 degree, actually it becomes the ice. Now how my routing will be there? My main contribution is routing in underwater. I'm talking about the temperature, but I'm making this as the secondary contribution, stating that if my temperature is between minus 3 degree to 10 degree, and how my algorithm is going to perform. Now, current. See, when you talk about wave current, okay, when you talk about underwater wave current, there are different type of wave currents. Especially when you have wave currents, of course, you are not deviating from your topic, but the secondary contribution says that if the wave currents is trying to pull some sand, and by that time, how my routing will be there. Now, this is my secondary contribution. Of course, routing is done for the main. Your main theme of your problem is the temperature salinity. But in that routing, I'm going to create the second, what I can say, second contribution is that if my current carries sedimentation, how my routing algorithm will be there. So now I'm just breaking this. Routing is breaking. The problem is here, but the contributions are being broken out in a different angle. And when you talk about sedimentation, the next I can speak about the size of the sand. The size of the sand. And that also makes a very big problem when I have my data to be transferred in the underwater. So this is how you can make it. And if at all, I think that if the sand size is very small, there will be some multiple reflections. Now, how I'll make it? This is how you have to create your contribution. Of course, the problem is same, no doubt. The problem is there. Your solution is the routing, but I'm creating the contribution in a different angle. This is how you have to make it. It's a very small thing, how to break into the modules. Maybe the modules can be as a contributions. You may put it in the other way. You can make it in the modules. This is how you have to create it. So, say I created one novel algorithm. I propose one COVID-19 algorithm, okay, for routing. But still, my contribution says that the algorithm performance evaluated on the temperature of 3 degree to minus degree, sedimentation, size of the sand, and multiple reflections because of the size of the sand. Now, how these parameters going to be evaluated by the proposed algorithm? So this is how you have to break your contributions. And this is a very important aspect when you go to any presentations. If you go for any presentation, see, that is what in simple, when you go for any presentations. So I think if you have attended many top university Viva-wise meeting, at the last, they'll ask one simple question. Please try to put your research in one single sentence. And that shows your ability in fixing your objective, how that objective has been broken into different modules, different contributions. There you can able to get it in a nutshell. You have to say in one single sentence. This is a very critical question. You have to know how to answer this. If you know how to answer this question, it shows that your research is excellent research. It is an excellent research. Okay. But what we think, changing an algorithm and putting as a contribution and giving my results, no, it's not like that. They never look into the algorithm. Because everybody knows that all the algorithms are readily available on the internet. Every algorithm library files are there. But how you are going to look into the problem? And that is a very, very important thing. You have to make your papers with a good contribution. Okay. And that is very, very important. Now, I think the very important part next I want to discuss is that, okay, the contribution should have a solid weightage in your research, not just like that, you have to say that I compare with the other algorithms, my results will be the best. No, 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 it should not be there. It should be totally based upon the problem. Okay. I think now we'll see I'll just show you some papers, and I think you can able to get an idea. Now we are going to go for the practical session. How these things have been discussed in the IEEE papers. We are going to see this. Now we'll see this. I'll just take one paper. We are going to see only open access and standard IEEE journals. And I'm just going to talk about WSN because I was discussing about the WSN. I'm just going to take WSN papers and latest papers. We'll see 4 or 5 new contributions. Then you will get a very good idea about how to write the contributions. And now I'll take open access because I don't have time to go ahead with these things. Taking the paper out, giving the login. To avoid that, I'll just go for open access papers. And I'll be avoiding the IEEE access. I said earlier, it is not up to the standard because when I was a reviewer for IEEE access, they give a very common statement and don't try to see any English or grammar, nothing. The novelty is there, you apply because they are charging more than $2,500, I supposed to believe. So normally, there is some liberations. Now, we'll take one paper. Of course, it's the 2015. Wait, I'll just move on to the article. 2020 IEEE access. See why I'm taking like this. I never take my earlier. I never take earlier articles. Keep on talking about the same paper. No, we never do that because it will not help us to improve our knowledge. Whenever I take class, I'll go directly. I'll just open a file. I'll take current papers. Then I'll try to read it. Okay. Then I'll give open access. I think I have 2 papers. I'll just put here open access, 2 earlier access. I can take some paper and I can put it in your explanation. Okay. I have my industrial informatics. Okay, this is a very beautiful paper. I'll just take this paper. I'll just take this paper. Now, when you talk about this, now, we'll take 2 papers. Of course, I'll take this also. I'll take this paper also because it is also from WSN. Because I want to take 2 papers, we'll see the depth of these contributions, and that is very, very important. Contribution is very important. Okay, and your focus in contribution is very important. Now I'll just make this paper, and now my eyes will be scrolling for the objective of the main objective. Now I'll be searching for in this paper, in this study. Yeah, this is there in this study. See now, motivated by an advancement of massive machine type connectivity, okay, and satellite technology in this study, we investigated the potential of these enable remote monitoring of offshore wind farms. Offshore wind farms, especially the 2 alternative architectures are considered. The indirect architecture relies on using local MMTC, massive machine type connectivity gateway with a backbone over a reliable communication channel, satellite or wired. The direct approach implies the transmission of the data sensors on the wind turbine directly on MMC GEON on the lower level orbit satellite. The details of the systems, the alternative implementation strategies and relevant pros and cons trade-offs are pinpointed Finally, we employed the simulation using realistic deployment and traffic and advancement propagation and collision models to characterize these two approaches: feasibility, packet delivery probability numerically when implemented over LoRaWAN, it's called LoRaWAN. They normally call the LoRaWAN, long range wireless network, MMTC. Now, the very simple thing is that they are going to go ahead with two architectures. Okay, that is what they are trying to say. Okay. Now, before this, you can see this. What is the motivation behind them? What is the problem is that according to the reports, each offshore wind turbine requires 5 maintenance visits a year on average. The cumulative repair cost constitute around 30% of the turbine life cycle expenditure. So this is their problem. So the problem is very clear. 5 times they want to get their things to be repaired, 30% of the cost is going. So we are going to create a monitoring device. Okay. And that monitoring device is going to run with the two architectures. And they are integrating with what I can say, satellite. And they are integrating with the wireless technology. This is how they are trying to make a monitoring of the wind farm. See, by reading two sentences, I can able to get it very clearly what is the title. They are using WSN, long range module, and satellite integrated for offshore wind farms monitoring. Okay. And this is how they are bringing out. Now, two architectures have been given here. Now we'll go to the contributions. See our contributions. The main contribution is reflected here. What is the main contribution? It is called, now I'll just share it. You'll get a very good idea. The two alternative architectures are considered. Okay. See, it is going to reflect in the contribution. We propose two novel approach enabling wireless collection of sensor from offshore wind turbine. Both proposed solution imply state-of-art machine type connectivity solution, namely LoRaWAN technology. In the former case, data is collected by a local gateway located at one of the turbine, which further streams them through a wire or wireless link. In the later case, data is collected by satellite-based non-terrestrial GWS. Notable, our obtained results can be further generalized for other application and use case, other radio access technologies. Second, we use simulation. We analyze these two approaches performance. See, you can see the sub contributions, pros and cons. Importantly, our simulation on real-time wind farms and wind turbine position, traffic models, and sensor deployment for the wind turbine, characteristics of the communication of the device equivalent to one currently available on the market, account of line of sight, account for line of sight blockage by the turbine, optimize the position of the local GAW, employ experimental based radio propagation and advanced collision model. See, you can see this, but they are talking about two architecture, they are talking about the monitor. But in depth, if I go for contributions, it gives first contribution, second contribution, and third contributions. It is called primary contribution and secondary contributions. See, they are breaking their what I can say objective as a modules. Okay, this is a very important thing you have to understand here. And I think you can able to see very clearly what is that they are trying to say. It's very simple. They take the satellite image. Okay, they take the satellite link, data and everything. They are interconnecting with the satellite and your local communication. And this is how they are trying to do this. You can see this, a very simple diagram which can able to see configuration 1, configuration 2, configuration 3, how they are doing it. So this is a very beautiful work. They are integrating it with the satellite and WSN. Nobody would have done it so far, I suppose to believe. That is what the reason it has been published. I think you can able to understand very clearly what the situation is prevailing in the contribution. I think the article is written only for 10 pages, nothing else beyond that. Okay. And I think now we got a very clear-cut idea. Now we'll go on to the next The next paper, I'll just make it in a bigger size. See, the contribution is here. Now my eyes will be trying to search for the in this paper, or we proposed, or we want to keep this type of reading is called skimming and scanning reading technique. This is what the technique which has been taught for the reviewers. Now, this article proposes a neighboring based estimation of distribution algorithm to address it in a recursive manner. Okay, they made it in a simple contribution, because I'm just reading it in a single sentence. They are addressing, okay, what I can say, neighbor-based estimation of distribution algorithm to address it in a recursive manner. Now, a maximum lifetime of range adjustable wireless sensor network, a neighborhood-based estimation of distribution algorithm. This is about algorithm. They are trying to maximize the lifetime of range adjustable WSN. It means that what? If my node is very near, I'll make it with the simple sentence, maximizing lifetime of range adjustable wireless sensor network. What you're trying to understand from this? I'll make it in a simple example. I didn't read the paper, but the topic itself will give the real meaning of the work. If I'm very close to, see, now I have a router in my home. If I'm very close to my router, why my router should send the data beyond the near node? I can, if I sense that the distance of my access point is very less, why I want to give it to the maximum range? I'll put it in the very simple nutshell. Just I'll put it in the whiteboard so you can able to understand. Now, this is my router in my home. Now, this is my mobile. If my distance is 3 meters, but my wireless sensor will try to give a coverage of, okay, the coverage of area of 50 meters. If I go out of my apartment, I can able to see my radiation. Now, when my access points are very near, what I'll do here, my node will try to adjust my distance by reducing the battery input. What happens if my battery is very less? The radiation will not be very long. So it will try to reduce the input to the modem. Automatically, what happens? The distance will be reduced. This is what they are trying to say. So now I didn't read the paper. Now we'll see this. With a single point on the topic, I can able to get it. Now we'll go to this problem. Sensor activity scheduling is critical for prolonged lifetime of wireless sensor networks. However, most existing methods assume sensors to have fixed sensing range. Prevalence of sensor with adjustable sensing range posed to new challenging to this topic. Expand the search run space due to the rise in the number of possible activation modes and more complex energy allocation as the sensor differs in the energy consumption rate when using different sensing ranges. Could you able to understand? I didn't read the paper. Just like that, I opened. It is a live. You can see without reading the paper, without reading the abstract, I can able to get the concept. This is how you have to write. This is what required in the paper. Not that, what I can say, changing your range adjustable sensor. You can see this. There are two challenges to make hard to directly solve the lifetime maximization problem with the range adjustable sensors. And this is what they're trying to say that. Okay, I think you can able to understand very clearly. If at all you have any doubt, you can read the abstract. You can read the abstract and you can able to see this very clearly. Seek the coverage schemes, NDA. You can see this neighborhood based estimation of distribution algorithm is driven to seek coverage schemes promising for prolong the network lifetime. The lifetime is thus optimized by repeating the steps of the coverage scheme, evaluation, and LP model solving to encourage the search The device coverage schemes, you can able to get it very clear. Neighborhood sampling strategies introduced. Nothing I read. I just read the topic and I've just read only the objective. That's it. Now, this is how they'll be expecting from you. They don't have time to read entire paper. Now, when they are getting more interested after reading these 2 points, what is the objective? According to the note or the mode, whatever you can say, mode also is a term used for the notes. I can change my radiation. I can adjust my range. That is what it is trying to say. So now I'll just put it in the other way. I'll go for the, they have given a separate topic here itself. Yeah, you can see this, what I did it in the diagram. Okay, they are given us an explanation. Now we'll go for the contributions. Of course, here they didn't give the contribution as a points, but they have given this article proposes. See, what a beautiful link they are trying to give. Because when a person say trying to search the same, what I can say, wording in a different way, what is that? This article proposes. Same is being linked here also. So that the reviewer will feel very happy, you know, if I put here in this paper here, normally I'll be irritated. So they're keeping this in mind, how they have written it. In this article, a novel neighborhood estimation. Now this is the main objective. To address the problem, instead of solving directly, NEA divides LMRS into 2 sub-problems. Finding a set of coverage schemes and determine the active time of each coverage scheme so that sensors energy is best allocated to maximize the network lifetime. Clearly, solution to the first sub-problem composes the premises of the second one. In fact, supposing that all the possible coverage schemes in WSN have been found, the second problem can be modeled as a linear programming problem when the activation time of each scheme can be optimally assigned so that their sum, the network length, is maximized. However, due to range search space of LMRAS, it is difficult or even impossible to enumerate all coverage schemes. The essential idea behind NEDA is to address LEMS by solving 2 sub-problems recursively. I think you can able to get the link of the word regressive. I think now you can get it how far they are making subsections, or I can say that the primary is that, okay, to address the problem is that network lifetime based on coverage area, so that I reduce my energy utilized for the node, or I can say that increase my network lifetime. Okay, this is how we are trying to do here. This is how you are trying to do very clearly. Okay, and you can see this, how they are trying to write their secondary objective. Your primary objectives is seen only in this abstract, and that is being supported by many secondary objectives. So I could have given it in a different way, is that create 5 objectives. Among that 5 objectives, one should be the main objective. The main objective should be defended by the secondary objectives. What do you mean by secondary objectives? You try to break out in a different angle. You look the same solution in a different angle, try to bring out contributions as secondary objectives. We elaborately speak about your main objective. It's not that explaining the main objective. Please try to understand. Please don't try to understand in a different way. I have given in one sentence, so I'll keep it as a hint, and you never try to do like this. I think I'll repeat it. What I'm trying to say is that in a very simple communication is that you have your abstract, no doubt. You have your abstract. You have your one main objective, and keeping this main objective, okay, don't take this as a hint and don't try to give an elaborate explanation. Okay, it should not be an explanation. It should not be, you are not trying to explain the main objective. Don't do this. Please don't do this. You support your main objective by secondary objective. Okay, now I'll give a very simple example. My objective is that, okay, I'll just make a simple other, what I can say, other type of example so that you will get a very clear idea. Now, I'm trying to do a research in hunger. Hunger. Hunger, there is 4 type of hungers are there. Okay. And they call it as different hunger. And the hunger is that stress eaters. Okay. And then you have stress eaters. And then I think 4 types of hungers are there, I suppose to believe. And I'm just going to do a hunger, type of hunger. Now I'm going to talk about stress eaters or binge eating people. Binge eating people are that, whenever you see something, you just go and eat and you try to fill your stomach. Now I'm going to talk about hunger. In that hunger, stress eaters. Okay. Stress eaters. And how they are trying to. Now my problem is that to identify the stress eating person. Stress eating, stress-based hunger. Or I can say that stress-based eating habit. What is that stress-based eating habit? When you are getting more stress, okay, what happens? The blood flows to your brain. Okay. Because of the stress, you get high pressure, you get your head pain, high flow will be there because the blood structure is that. Whenever there is a requirement in a particular area, blood will be maximizing to that particular area. So now when I'm in stress, the blood will try to go rush up to that particular region. So what I'll do, I'll go and eat. Then automatically what happens? My blood will come to my stomach. And that is what the reason, after taking the food, you get some, what I can say, a particular, what I can say, some kind of a feel, no, what is that? You'll be some sleepiness will be there. I don't know how to express this in order to understand in the verbal language. No, that is called after taking you will get a small, what I can say, sleep like feeling, or sometimes you will be getting you want to take rest, something you will feel. Why this is happening? Because all blood will try to go into your stomach when you take a food. Then now the brain will be relieved from the high flow of blood. You will get comfort. And that is what the reason, when you are becoming anger, it's not like that you are throwing your food. That is different. You just think about your body. Whenever there is a stress, you'll try to eat more. You'll get some sort of relaxation. They call these as stress busters. Technically speaking, stress busters will be there. You can see many people as stress busters. The stress busters are, that is what the software people, they'll keep on going to hotels. They'll be eating a lot, and sitting in one place, there starts all the problem. Okay. They don't maintain this. They'll keep on eating. Before the computer, they feel comfort. And now I'm going to work on this stress-based eating analysis. Now, if I talk about the stress-based eating, I should not go and explain in the contribution. Stress-based eating is that whenever I feel angry, whenever somebody scolds me, no, it's not. It is not that you're giving explanation for stress and eating. In turn, the stress-based eating, when the stress is occurred in domestic place, when the stress occurred on the office environment, when my self-stress due to my own planning fails, I feel stress. By that time, what is my eating habit? If at all, if I fail something, if I don't get something in my project, if I don't get what I can say, the thing which I desired, by the time how my stress is there, and the stress by ego, comparing with others, I don't buy car. By the time, if I see that, I'll be seeing my enemy. So a lot of things happen. I think you understand. Don't try to give the explanation about the stress Your contribution. You take this stress-based heating in different environment, different type of stress, and you narrow down with that 5 novel. So the common is that stress-based heating appears based on residential stress and domestic, I can even say domestic stress and workplace stress, and then economic stress. Now I can make these three, but it all talks about the same. So if I want to put it in a very simple pictorial representation for the main contribution, I can put it in this way. It is called main objective. Okay, this is my main objective. My secondary objective should also talk about the main, and third also should talk about my first objective. Okay, and my fourth also should talk about the main objective, and fifth also should talk about the main objective, and not that these secondary objectives should not be an explanation. It should not be an explanation of this, and this is wrong. This is a very simple pictorial representation of your objectives. I think you could have understand very clearly what do you mean by objective, what do you mean by secondary objective. Now I'll take one more field, because you may have a doubt, sir, why it is only in the WSN it may be happened, why not it can be happened, the same thing is happening in the other articles. Now we'll go for one article in image processing. I'll just take image segmentation. Just take one image segmentation article, then you can understand very clearly. I'll just go for earlier access. I'll just go for earlier access because I don't have time to search for other journals in different years. Earlier access is that it has been selected and yet to be published in hard copy. And before that, it will be published in the soft copy. It means that online. We'll take very beautiful papers are coming. Now I'll just take 2 articles so that we'll get a clear idea. I'll take third one also. Oh, open access. Oh, it's not open access. Please wait. I made a mistake. I'm supposed to believe. Please wait. I didn't click this. Sorry. I didn't select for the open access. Now, okay. Take 3 papers. I think everything comes under geoscience. We'll take one in biomedical. Okay. Now 3 articles are there. Now we'll see the objective. When you want to do some sort of research, a very important thing is that you have to be very keen watching the wording and writing. Okay. Sentence formation is very important. Now, we propose a framework for semantic segmentation of aerial images based on incomplete annotation, where annotations are asked to label a few pixels with easy draw scribbles. So now this is the objective. Okay. Now, nothing is there to get into the meaning of this particular sentence. You just go here and you can see here the contribution. The contribution is discussed from this session to elevate, because you can see this, the wording is very important, to elevate, and here also to elevate. It means that contribution. the requirement of the dense pixel annotation, and of course they are talking about the references here. And now to accurately predict the object boundaries and propose to employ fully connected conditional random fields to redefine the shape and objects compared to the fully annotated ground truth scribbled annotation are easy to generate in user-friendly way. In comparison with point level annotation, scribbles can provide stronger supervisory signals. However, point and scribble supervision, see, you can see how they are breaking. At the end, we propose a simple, effective framework semantic segmentation of remote sensing imagery with low-cost contribution. You can see this in this framework. We manually create point-to-point scribbling. They talk only about the scribbling. Okay, what is that they are trying to say is that comparison of different level of scribbling annotation. If I scribble an annotation, okay, and taken as an example here, images are left to right are aerial image, point, and line, polygon, and dense pixel. See, normally, I think if you want to understand this, you should understand Google Earth. I'll just go to the Google Earth. Okay, I'll just show you. And that is the correct way to make you to understand what they are trying to say. Otherwise, it will be very tough to understand. Now, this is the Google map. Now, I'll take the aerial image. Now, this is the area. They are talking about this plant. Okay. Now, I'll take one company. Okay. Actually, the company is here. I am trying to create some area. I'll just go to an agriculture area. Yeah, got it here. This is the Suryadev Power Industry, which is very near to RMK College. Now, and this is one agriculture land. Now, this is one agriculture land. Okay. Now, I'm going to measure this land. Now, I'll just create a point. I'll just create a point. Measure distance. Now, I'll keep one point here. And then I can move here. Now, I can create a point. Now, I can measure it. Now, this is called point. When I mark it here, what will be my in reality ground? There will be some error. That is what they are trying to talk. So you can see the total area and total distance. Everything comes here. But in reality, there will be some change, minute change. And that has been fed there as a problem. Now, when you take the one more paper, I'll just go to the one more paper. Liver and liver tumor segmentation, network of liver and network of liver tumulation deformable encoder decoder network for liver and liver tumor segmentation. Now, all are same, no doubt. Now, my eyes will be going and searching for in this paper, we propose a deformable encoder network for liver tumor segmentation. The proposed network makes two contributions. First is the deformable convolution is used to enhance the feature representation capability of DFET-net, which can help the network to learn convolution kernel with adaptive spiral structuring information. The second is that we design a ladder that is called, they are trying to make one algorithm, ladder ASP algorithm, probably to learn about the better context information from the spiral pyramidal pooling for CT image segmentation. Of course, they are talking about the segmentation. They are trying to do something about the variation in the architecture of convolution neural. Now, If I go to my contribution, see the feature extraction layer, they never talk about this. Okay, wait a second. Yeah, this is the contribution. The proposed DEFED network includes the following advantages. The feature extracted layers are constructed by using deformal convolution with the this is called residual design. To design can more effective. The design can more effectively extract the spatial context information of the image while maintaining high level of features. But they didn't reflect that. It is a sub point of the main objective. The feature fusion module of DEFED depends on the later that is called LASS that employs multi-scaling dilated convolution kernel using variable dilution rate to obtain better spatial context information. I think third is that provides higher segmentation. They talk higher segmentation accuracy later on. And it requires smaller memory usage due to employment of depth separable convolution. There they didn't talk about the memory. There they didn't talk about the kernel. There they didn't talk about, they are talking only about the architecture-based segmentation for liver. But here they are giving different angle. Now, it's a very important thing is that can you able to identify that the first point is not correlating with the second point? The second point is not correlating with the third point. That is what three independent. Of course, this is not related to this. And this is not related to this. And this is not related to this. Of course, all these things talks about only the one important proposed algorithm, which is the main objective. And this main objective is for segmentation. This main objective is for segmentation based on architectural design. There they didn't talk about the features. After convoluting with my algorithm, the features are retaining, especially at what situation? While maintaining high-level features and extract the spatial context information. They are very particular about their objective. And this is how you want to create your objective. And of course, I think this contribution part will be very useful for you to understand how to write a contribution. If you know how to write a very beautiful contribution, you will get your paper accepted. Nothing is required. Okay, they never see your graphs. Of course, they'll see outlook of the graph, but not that, oh, accuracy 99.1, I didn't get 9. No, they never see like that. And that is very important to understand when you write your contribution, when you write your research statement. I think I can close my lecture here. Of course, in next class, we'll be really discussing about the very important part, and a very important part is that how to overlook your paper based on skimming and scanning reading technique. There are some techniques in reading. I think we'll discuss in the next class. It will be very useful for you. And if you have any doubt,